Hey, what's up, guys? Joe here again, outside in the park. I was going to a little cabin or a little thing. You can see kind of a little thing behind me going on there. Um, it's pretty nice out. I was going to do it at my apartment, but it just seemed depressing being inside. And right outside the apartment, it was noisy. There was some construction going on. So I drove all the way for this video. Getting high maintenance over here. All right. So I'm tired, but I had some thoughts I wanted to get out. So if I'm a little low energy, that's why. But I thought it'd be worth just sitting down and getting this out. So today, I got to talk about some stuff. I want to talk about. See, how do I start this off here? Basically, and this has come up a couple times. This is why I'm talking about it. Does God lie to us to get us where He wants us to be? Um, Another way of asking that is, what do you do when you feel like God told you one thing, however you discern that, but something completely opposite happens or it never comes to fruition? Um, so I know everyone watching this may not believe in God, but I know a lot of people do. But even if you don't, and probably especially if you do, I think it's worth talking about. Get something out of this. So I wrote down some thoughts. I'll be kind of reading off here because I didn't want to forget. I've been writing down more thoughts, trying to be more coherent. Good luck, right? But anyways, so now I want to say I'm not an expert on this. I don't know if anyone is, and I'm sure there are smarter people, but to talk about this. But I was talking to a friend the other day, and she felt like God told her one thing, but then something else completely happened, or I forget exactly the details now, or it never came to fruition, or something to that extent. Basically, she's just like confused now. I'm like, God, what the heck? Or like, is what you told me like real? Is this for real thing? So we were talking, and did God just want to get me to a certain place, in life, in a situation, etc., whatever it might be. We talked a bit about it, like I said, and if that is the case, she's like, that kind of feels manipulative and like He's lying. And I was like, she kind of asked me that straight out. Do you think God lies to get us where you want? I'm like, maybe. And I'll keep going into why I think that or don't think that. Bear with me. For obvious reasons, it's hard to attribute those characteristics to God. We talked more about it, and I told her I've felt the same way in the past. That's why I was like, maybe not. There were some big things and some small things that maybe resolved later that day. I can't think of anything specific, so I'm just going on like feelings of like remembrance. I feel like God told me something maybe like that week or that month, like it resolved, and I was like, oh man, okay, so maybe it made sense in the end, but it felt weird in the process. But anyway, so why does this happen? Was what I was thinking, asking. Is there something else really going on? Is God really lying? Maybe there are some other explanations, like did we hear God correctly? Maybe not. That's a tricky question, I think, because how do we judge if we heard correctly? I think sometimes we can attribute too much to God saying something when it might just be us trying to justify or explain something to ourselves. And we might put it in the voice of God and not even realize it. I know I've been doing that a lot. I've realized, at least I think I am, or maybe it is God, I don't know. But I feel like I'm like, that's not necessarily you. I'm just kind of hoping it's you, for whatever reason. Neither good or bad. Just maybe I just want it to be Him. But I think you only find out if it's kind of God's voice by looking retroactively, which it's kind of like, I don't know, doesn't help you in the here and now. So it's like, it's not worthless to ask, did I hear God correctly? But it's like, All right, well, I'm not going to know till later anyways, possibly, so it's like, all right. Um, maybe we did hear it correctly, but maybe we're just able to see a small piece of the bigger plan, the old quilt patch analogy, whatever that is. Google it for the rest. All right, so there's that option. All right, cool. So we may or may not have heard God correctly. We're not seeing the whole thing. All right, cool. Maybe he is lying. Let's explore that. If he is, it's not malicious. I'm convinced of that, which, well, yeah, okay, so I think that's some basis of what makes lying bad, right? It's malicious. There's malintent. Trust is broken. You feel taken advantage of, used, abused. Um, I don't think that's the case if God, in fact, is lying. Can you see my air quotes? I can't tell. But here you go. But it might seem counterintuitive, but I'd say if you're with God for the long haul, been with Him for a while, and I mean, I'm only 33. I'm not saying I'm an old timer with God, but I, I hope I don't eat my words later. Some weird things always happen, right? But I feel like I've traveled enough so far in this life with God that you start to see patterns of behavior. I guess it's like getting to know someone's personality. Um, and so I feel like I've been around or with God for long enough to start to pick up on a few things. Not near everything, but long enough to know that his intent is good, whatever it is. Gosh, even if he is lying, it's really hard to say those two things in one sentence. But um, I mean, it's just the way it feels sometimes. I don't think trust is broken in that case. Like I said, if his intent's good, I think trust is mostly broken with God when we feel and think that he's treating us differently than we expected him to do. Um, Now, where those expectations come from is a whole nother separate conversation that maybe we'll get into. But right now, I think it's good just to back up a little bit, and say, do we have the right perspective? Um, do we have if we have a wrong perspective, um, is that what's leading to not hearing God correctly? Um, Maybe. My next question was like, well, okay, let's say that's the case. Um, how does he have grace, and how does he teach us if we do have a wrong perspective? Um, and I was thinking just like a good parent would probably do. I'm not a parent, so I'm guessing, and from what I've seen, um, hopefully they gently, caringly, and repeatedly teach their kids the right perspective, the right way to think, at least to their opinion. Which, I mean, what else are you gonna do, right? Um, so, so yeah, so being wrong, having a wrong perspective, whether in like the real world with people or as parents and a kid, it still hurts and it's confusing if you feel like you're being wronged. Being wrong in the real world with people, or the example of kids and a parent. In the process, even if you're wrong, it still hurts. It's confusing. You feel like you're being wronged. How often does a kid think his parents are mean simply because they're acting or doing something different than they anticipated or expected? My friend, she said one of her twins. She's like, she has twins, so she explained they're going to do something later that day, and she explained something to one of them, or to both of them, and one of them was like, oh, okay, yeah, we'll do that. The other one was like, it made sense on paper, like in her head, but like she wouldn't follow through. It didn't make sense to her, and she just like started bawling and crying, and it's like, it's not. I think she's like, it's not fair, stuff like that. But so yeah, just yeah, we'll keep moving on. Along with the kid analogy and a parent, maybe God only tells us what we needed to hear at the time. Kind of like you tell a child only so much at a time because there's only so much they can understand at a given time, because they don't have the capacity to fully understand the full plan or what you're thinking. Um, Either way, the child has a super limited perspective. So do we have a super limited perspective in relation to an infinite God? It's kind of a rhetorical question because we're not infinite, and anything compared to infinite is pretty big chasm there. So, a little tongue-in-cheek answer to that question there. But things. So it was just keeping that in mind. I'd say things that we think we heard him say. It may not be the whole truth, because maybe we just can't handle it all at once. And because we don't have the whole truth, it could feel like we're being lied to. I think it's kind of like I said quilt analogy earlier. I thought of a puzzle piece. So let's say you look at a puzzle piece. Bear with me. Well, I'll be quick with this. And it's like a piece of grass or something. So you think, oh, cool. I guess we're heading to a meadow or a forest or something. But maybe that piece of that grass is just like the foreground to like the actual picture is like a mountain or a mountain range, and you're just seeing a little bit, at the bottom. And if that's the case, then you're not even close to saying that picture's about grass, but maybe that's all you can get at the time. So, something worth thinking about. Another friend of mine put it, I was talking to her about it, and she's like, this analogy is kind of funny. She's like, what would an ant say if you asked it about your hairstyle? And I was like, that just doesn't make any sense. Why would the ant doesn't even know what hair is? So maybe it's like that. Yeah. So the comprehensive thing is kind of a big deal. Yeah. To go back to my question, how can we understand the infinite? It almost makes sense that things are confusing, because the space between levels of consciousness is so vast. If we could get everything, then I guess we'd be infinite. We'd be God or something. But or I don't know. That's pretty deep for theologically. Quickly, I don't want to get into that. But those are my thoughts. I don't know. Have fun with that. All right. I'll check you guys later. Thanks. Bye.